national debt almost doubled it since George Bush took office, over $9 trillion. And that is money that we're all going to have to pay back. So the first thing that we have to do is to bring an end to this war in Iraq. We're spending $10 to $12 billion per month. The latest request for both Iraq and Afghanistan are $196 billion for next year. Here, $196 billion. That is money that could be providing health insurance to all Americans. It could be rebuilding our schools. It could be providing higher teachers. It could be providing scholarships for every American young person who's going to college. So we are using our resources in a way that's not sound. We can recapture some of that money. Some of it will go to taking care of our veterans. Some of it should go to social programs. Some of it should go towards deficit reduction. Second principle is a simple principle called PAYGO. If you want to cut taxes, you've got to cut spending. If you want to raise spending, you've got to raise revenue so that you have honest accounting. Right now, the federal budget is not honest. And unless we have good numbers, we can't end up dealing with this budget issue. Now, the biggest problem we have in terms of our budget, though, long term, and look, I want to eliminate no-bid contracts. I want to scrub the federal budget free of earmarks and pet projects that are not based on our national priorities. And that requires transparency in government. I talked earlier about the power of technology. One of the things that we've done, you'll be pleased to know that we call this the Google for Government bill.
And Google is in favor of it.
Yes. And what it does is we're going to set up a searchable database for every dollar of federal spending so that we can track it, which means that we'll be able to, journalists and ordinary citizens and think tanks and advocacy groups will be able to see if money is going to a bridge to nowhere instead of going to a bridge to somewhere. We'll be able to challenge it in real time, and that's going to be important. But the last thing I was going to mention, and this is probably the biggest problem we have with the federal budget, is healthcare spending, Medicare and Medicaid. That's the big budget buster. That's the scary thing out there that will be like the blob. It will just consume everything unless we do something about it now. And again, technology is part of the answer, and innovation is going to be part of the answer in reducing cost. It's not so population is getting older, that contributes a little bit to it. But the main problem is healthcare inflation goes up 6, 8, 10% per year. It's unsustainable. And so, for example, if we use health IT, simple stuff, making sure that everybody's medical records are on in a digital form, so that when a nurse pulls up somebody's chart, they can actually read the writing, and they're not administering the wrong drug. Making sure that billing is all electronic. That can make a huge difference. Investing in prevention so that children are getting regular checkups instead of having to go to the emergency room for treatable illnesses like asthma. That makes an enormous difference. That will probably be the biggest savings item for our federal budget if we do it right, and people like yourselves can be a part of that process. So,
thank you.
Thank you, Senator Obama, for coming to visit us. We're really pulling for you out here in the Bay Area.
Thank you.
I'm a big supporter and a vocal supporter, and the biggest issue that I constantly hear brought up about you is the lack of experience, the inexperience issue, and I hear it amongst my friends. You read about it in the press. I'm sure you've had to answer lots of questions about it. Without getting into, or frankly, I guess you can, but without getting into whether experience makes a difference or not, but what are you actually going to do to address this perceived weakness and allow a lot of voters that want to get behind you and want to support you to get past this issue of inexperience?
Right. Well, look, first of all, Sergey and Larry didn't have a lot of experience starting a Fortune 100 company.